Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're looking at by far my favourite lens, and by what I can see in the comments and everything that goes on in the channel, probably your favourite lens and the lens that's most asked about really, which is the 300mm f2.8 Mark 1. Now this is a lens I've owned now for a good 3 years, and what I'm going to do is talk about, is it a lens that's still worth buying in 2025? What are the pros and cons of buying this lens? And we'll also look at some of the imagery I've taken recently with the lens. You can see what sort of imagery you can potentially get out of this, in my opinion, super sharp 300mm prime lens. So let's look at those photos now, and then I'll get onto the overview afterwards. So here we have a snow leopard. This is taken on the R3 with the 300mm. You can see nicely looking straight at me. The eye tracking's done its job. Tracked it on here. Shooting f4, so we've managed to get the whole frontal area of the snow leopard in focus, and then the background you have that separation, and then a little bit of bokeh in the background there. To the comment to the guy who put a comment on that got removed, I don't know if they removed it by the time I saw it or something happened to it, but they commented saying like, why do I edit the bokeh into all my photos? And the answer is I don't. So I'm not sure where you've got that impression from, but all the backgrounds of the photos that I show you in these videos is all exactly how it came out the camera. It just happens I have lenses that allow for that better separation and allow to have that nicer bokeh in the background. So if you are watching this video, I don't do that, and I don't know what happened to your comment. Maybe you saw something else and decided that I don't, and you deleted it yourself, but that's answering your question. Next one here is of a baby monkey on its mother's back. This is with the 1DX Mark II, super low light. This is at 10,000 ISO, and you still have such good detail. The reflection's so good that if you zoom into the eyes, you can actually see me taking the photo through glass at this animal here. And I just love this photo. The colours are just incredible. I was shooting at 2.8 because of the low light to try and give me that better ISO. I'll still say shooting at 10,000 ISO, but if I was shooting with the f4 300mm, I'd be up even higher in the ISO, and you probably wouldn't have got a shot like this, as sharp and as clear as this shot is anyway. Now, I love this shot. The details in the eyes are perfect. If I used the R3, would I have got a better shot? Potentially, but I still feel that the 1DX Mark II does work better in low light, especially combined with this lens to give me the best possible chance of getting these nicer photos, which is why I took that camera and lens combination with me to get this photo specifically. Okay, the next animal here we have is a cervet. This is taken the R3 again, so this is quite a lucky one. I happened to be there at the right time sort of situation with the R3 eye tracking on 2.8, which is nicely blurred out to try, and you can still see that there's fence and wire behind the cervet, but because of shooting 2.8, it's kind of blurred it out enough that it's not distracting. You still look straight at the eyes of the animal, which is kind of going here, but it's walking straight towards me here. It's almost got like opposite to wonky eyes, like narrowing in, but they're looking out a little bit. The eye on the right of the animal is looking at me, but the one on the left is kind of looking off to the left a little bit. But it's walking straight towards me. Really nice photo. The head is all completely in focus, which is what I wanted. Whiskers really nice and sharp, and then from the neck back you start to gain that out of focus, and say by the time it's at the back it's completely blurred out, which is perfect. Really nice detail, and again great photo from that older combination. And this is the final photo here. This is of a obviously quite a young tiger and its mother, and just having a bit of a play, but a nice emotional kind of photo. And because they're both in the same plane, I'm shooting f4 and I've got both of them nicely in focus. Shot the moment, just how fast the shutter speed I was able to use. I think I was at 1/4000th of a second. This is on the, say, 1DX Mark II, so no eye tracker or anything needed, because say the animals are on the side. It's quite hard. This photo is quite annoying and frustrating. The background is what it is. There's a lot of fencing, but again, because I was shooting f4, it's blurred out enough not to distract 100% from the photo. It's not a photo I like to sort of get from a zoo, because I always try and get my zoo photos to make them look like they're in the wild more than in a zoo. I just don't like that zoo environment in the photos, but really nice photo, nice emotion from it, colours are great, sharp where they need to be sharp, and just shows you how good, again, that lens really is, and how versatile it is with the 1DX Mark II. So that was the imagery taken with this very lens, with a mixture of the R3 and the 1DX Mark II. Now, let's start off with some of the cons of this lens. It is a big lens, but not massively heavy, but it still is a quite big lens if you are a smaller person. If you're not used to carrying this sort of weight, it can kind of start to grinding you, like for me, even after a full day of like 9 hours at a zoo or something like that, my shoulder on the sling does start to hurt a little bit. So that is one thing to take into account. It is a big lens. Number two, getting spare parts for it, really hard. Even simple things like the screws that hold on the top part of the lens hood to the bit that screws actually onto the body, you can't buy them from Canon anymore. You've got to try and source them, and they're really unusual size. You can buy a new hood, they're £400, or you can buy a black aftermarket hood that fits as well, which is about 150. So be warned of that. Getting spare parts and serviceability. This is no longer obviously serviced by Canon directly. There are people here in the UK anyway that will still service this and can still service this. So just take that in mind if you are looking at this lens or an older lens, that it is going to be harder to get it serviced. I have all my lenses insured, so if something happens to them, they're under the insurance instead. But that is a big thing. If you want to have that peace of mind of being able to get it serviced by Canon, then look at the Mark II, because that still, to my knowledge anyway, can still be serviced by Canon, so that would be a more better option for you, but you are paying more money to have that. They're the main things. Obviously, I guess another negative you could kind of say is being a prime and being an older prime, the minimal focus distance is really quite long. It's 2.5 meters, so you have got to take that into account before you start shooting with the lens, that you are going to be a minimum of 2.5 meters away from whatever you're taking photos of. So that's something that does take getting used to. If you're used to a zoom lens or a more modern lens, you can get much closer. That is the first stage that will take a lot of getting used to. You'll get a lot of big learning curve of learning naturally where 2.5 meters is. So I've used it a bit now. I pick up this lens, my brain already tells me that's too close, that's too far away. It knows where that limit is and where that line is. So it is something you get used to, but something that you do have to kind of use it quite a lot to get used to. The positives, so there are a great deal of positives. Money wise is one big one. So these are very cheap for what they are. I paid $13.50 for this 3 years ago. They're still trending around about the same sort of money now, even about that. You can pay up to about $2,000 for these if they're in like absolute pristine condition, but mine still came with the travel case, the big sling, manuals, everything that you'd expect it to come with. Still, it was just classed as heavily worn because there was obviously a lot of marking. It was missing one of the screws on here. There's a little bit of bubbling on the paint, stuff that's not going to affect the image quality. The main thing you're buying these is you make sure that the glass is clean and there's no scratches and no marks on there. That will affect the imagery, because the next positive of this lens is how sharp it is. It is by far the sharpest lens I own. The amount of light it lets in the front and the image quality you can get from it because of that is just absolutely incredible. You get such detail, especially if you're using the R3 and using eye tracking and it's following the eye. You get so much detail from the eye. It's absolutely amazing, and that is the main reason why I still own one of these and I haven't thought to get rid of it. It's just because the image quality is just so impressive. And things as well, like how versatile it is. I've done a video before showing how you can use this with the 1.4 and the 2 times. You can then have, in my opinion, a very handholdable 600mm but it's a 5.6, but the alternative would be to get the prime 600mm f4, which weighs so much you can barely handhold it for very long. But this one you can handhold with that tiny converter, because the lens itself, for me personally, is very handholdable. Obviously, I said over time it can build up, but then you're only adding a couple hundred more grams to the back of it to then make it that 600mm, or you've got 420mm with the 1.4 at f4, and you're still getting a massively usable lens length, and you're still getting that image quality. It's just such a great lens to have. This is by far my go-to lens still, even though I have the 200-400, which is technically more versatile because you have that zoom range and it is an f4, but this is by far the one I pick up when I know I want to get a certain image and I know I want it to be perfectly sharp, and I'm going to use it and try and get the details in the eye and any fur if I'm using for animal photography. This is the lens I'll take, especially if it's low light. Especially in the UK, we've obviously just coming into summer now, but the last few months has been so dark and it gets dark early. You want something that lets in all that light. Now I've got the 500mm f4, which when I'm shooting owls and stuff is much more practical because of the reach, and I'll just shoot a slightly higher ISO. But when I'm going to the places I go when I'm shooting like sort of tigers walking up to you and leopards and stuff like that, and you're getting really close, to have that opportunity to just be able to shoot in those lower light conditions when those kind of animals, especially the leopards who are waking up to hunt at night, and jaguars and stuff like that, you get that more opportunity because the light's getting lower and you still can shoot because you've got that f2.8. Now obviously you can get the 300mm f4 prime lens, have the same reach, but it's just nowhere near as sharp, and say doesn't allow you to shoot in those lower light conditions and still get a sharp image. You can shoot in those lower light images, but you're going to be shooting that higher ISO, which means then you're just not going to get that same image quality. So it's a lens that if you can afford one and you haven't got one in your camera bag, even though this lens is 20 odd years old now, if you're happy to take the risk with the servicing side of things, put it on your insurance. So if something happens to it, you can just get the money. My insurance just pays me out the money value of it, and I just go and buy another one if something happened to go wrong with this one. Or you can put that money towards Mark II if you've really enjoyed it that much and you want to get the next stage. You just put it towards the Mark II. But it's a lens I would definitely still recommend in 2025 to buy. It's so versatile, so useful. It's a lens that, say, even if this one died or broke, I'd probably get the Mark II and still have a 300mm f2.8 in my arsenal. Even if I got the 400mm 2.8, because then again, you're turning that minimum focus distance even further back. I still think this would be a very useful and versatile lens to own still. So definitely recommend it. For the money you can get these for, it's absolutely incredible. Half the price of a 400mm 2.8 and very, very sharp, and something definitely recommend buying. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment what your thoughts are. I know a few of you have bought 300mm 2.8s off my videos and are loving them, so I'd love to see those comments in down below. Let me know if you've got any questions about the lens that I can help you with to help you buy one or look for one for you. I'm happy to do that when I've got spare time. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. It helps the channel out massively, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks as always, and goodbye.